Top U.S. diplomat Rex Tillerson pursued efforts to curb Iran's influence in talks with Gulf allies Sunday, but there was scant hope of a breakthrough in attempts to reconcile Saudi Arabia and Qatar. As well as talks with senior Saudi officials in Riyadh including King Salman, Tillerson attended a landmark meeting between Saudi Arabia and Iraq aimed at upgrading strategic ties between the Arab neighbors. The meeting appears aimed at boosting Sunni-ruled Saudi Arabia's clout in Shiite-majority Iraq, part of a wider regional battle for influence that extends from Syria to Yemen. Tillerson's visit comes just weeks after President Donald Trump refused to certify the Iran nuclear deal, leaving its fate to the U.S. Congress, and laid out an aggressive new strategy against Tehran in a bellicose speech. This event highlights the strength and breadth as well as the great potential of the relations between your countries, Tillerson said at the first meeting of the joint Saudi-Iraqi Coordination Council in Riyadh. Following years of tensions with Riyadh, Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi hailed the meeting as an important step toward enhancing relations, while King Salman warned of the dangers of extremism, terrorism, as well as attempts to destabilize our countries. The question of Iranian influence has also been at the heart of the diplomatic conflict between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, with Tillerson headed to Doha later Sunday for talks on diffusing the crisis between two key U.S. allies. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt cut ties with Qatar and imposed an embargo in June, accusing it of supporting terrorism and cozying up to Iran. Doha denies the charges and has rejected the terms for a settlement. Tillerson made an unsuccessful attempt to resolve the dispute during a trip to the region in July. Unwillingness to engage. Trump, after initially appearing to support the effort to isolate Qatar, has called for mediation and recently predicted a rapid end to the crisis. But before he arrived at Riyadh's King Salman Air Base on Saturday, Tillerson indicated there had been little progress. "I do not have a lot of expectations for it being resolved anytime soon," he said in an interview with financial news agency Bloomberg. "There seems to be a real unwillingness on the part of some of the parties to want to engage." Aside from the Gulf dispute in Iran, the conflict in Yemen and counterterrorism will also figure in his talks, the State Department said. On the Gulf crisis, the goal will be to try to persuade the two sides to at least open a dialogue. Simon Henderson, a veteran of the region now at the Washington Institute of Near East Policy, said the disputing parties do not want to lose face. Tillerson will say, "Come on kids, grow up and wind down your absurd demands. And let's work on a compromise on your basic differences," he said. Kuwait has tried to serve as a mediator, with U.S. support, but the parties have yet to sit down face to face. During his trip, Tillerson is also to visit New Delhi in order to build what he said in a recent speech could be a 100-year strategic partnership with India. Tillerson will stop in Islamabad to try to soothe Pakistani fears about this Indian outreach but also pressure the government to crack down harder on Islamist militant groups.